Afternoon, everybody. Rod back with you again. I was thinking a while back, I did do a video on one of my shotguns I had here. It was during the time when I had, we were experiencing a Hurricane Fiona when I did the video from my uncle's place. And I really didn't have much of a chance to get a good video of it. So what I would like to do is give an updated video on the particular gun, which is one of my hammer guns, Damascus barrel gun. It's my Henri Pieper, or Paper, as some people call it. Had the gun for a few years, done some shooting with it, enjoyed it. It's a welcome part of my collection, and I thought maybe I'd just do a decent video on it here and give you an idea of what the gun's all about. So here we go. This is my Henri Pieper, or Pieper Arms Company, which is Henri Pieper, side by side from Belgium, 12 gauge. This is a Damascus gun. I don't know if you can see the patterns there, but I'll show them to you better in a minute. External hammer, 12 gauge, 2.5 inch chambers. Excuse me. I'll open her up. The old girl's still good and tight. Barrels are clear. We are safe. As you can see there, it's got the, as they call them, rabbit ears, hammers, top lever brake, double triggers. A lot of the finish is worn off this gun, as far as like browning or bluing or whatnot that would have been on it, or color case hardening. This is from years of use where they kind of turn grayed and whatnot. So it's got the doll's head lock. It's also got the greener third cross bolt and 2 double locking underlugs right here. So it's a very strong gun when it's closed. It's nice and tight. The greener cross bolt, like I said, is nice and smooth, beautiful lockup. It's got the push button release for the fore end. Comes off, and it's decent craftsmanship underneath there. Fit nice together. There's your actuator for your extractor. Walnut. The checkering on this is worn a bit. I polished down the finish on it a little bit to clean it up, but we're all still a great old gun. It's not a museum piece, but it's a gun I like going hunting with. Snaps on just so. So what can I tell you about it? Well, we're gonna take it apart. I'm gonna take the fore end off, and I'm gonna remove the barrels, and I'm going to set this down right here, and now I'm going to grab my phone, and I'm going to flip you around. Okay. So here we go. This is what the underneath of the barrels looks like. So what we have here are some proof markings and some inspector's marks. Right here we see the gun is choked on both bores. I believe it's a full and a full. There's your choke in your bore diameter in millimeters of 18.3. And there's your choke constriction of 17.4 millimeters on the muzzle. There's 18.4 millimeters and 17.6 on this tube. So it's pretty close to full or full improved modified. It's tight anyway. We have a serial number. We have a inspector's mark here, which I've yet to identify. And this mark I have yet to identify. It's a sickle of some kind, but I'm going to look it up. So this is your Liege proof house from Belgium. ELG Star. They used that in the 1880s up until 1921, I believe, when they proofed guns, smokeless guns, or black powder guns. If they were smokeless, you'd see a crown and a PV up here, poudre vivre, which means smokeless powder. This is your 12 gauge. Telling you the gauge of your gun. The Tower of Perron. There's 2 more inspector's marks. I found out that there's a list with the corresponding names of the inspectors, and I'm going to look those up too. I just found that recently. There's your 2 definitive black powder proofs, your preliminary proof. There's your double proof. That's where they double proof the gun and it passed. So your bore choke here is 17.4. Now what's interesting here is 17.4 and 17.4, and one says here 17.4, 17.6. So I'm not quite sure how that came to light or came to be, but there's your attachment, your lug for your fore-end latch, and there's your Damascus pattern showing through. I'm going to flip it over. They're a little nicer looking here, as you can see. It looks like a little horseshoe to me. I'm not really 100% sure of the name of this pattern, but I think these are 3 blades. They might be 2-blade Damascus. Usually when the windings are tighter together, it's a better quality barrel, and when you have your welds that are like further apart, it's a lesser quality barrel. That's from what I've read online now. Don't quote me, but I've got enough experience with these things that I think that's what we're looking at. But overall, a nice, nice gun. The patterns go right down, right to the muzzles there, and you've got your bead sight there. Overall, it's not in bad shape at all for its age. And what's interesting about this gun is it has monoblocks for chambers here. You see this versus modified Diana and fine Damascus, okay? But these Damascus barrels are actually threaded into these blocks. These are the chambers. This is fluid steel. So this Damascus steel, this is fluid steel. What they did with these years ago is they made a form of reinforced breech. They figured that they could make the breech stronger and you could fire stouter charges through them, but I won't push those envelopes. I shoot the gun for what it's designed to shoot, black powder. There are no smokeless powder proofs here. Getting back underneath, there's actually the number 12 right down there. There's the bore. Overall, still a good old gun. There's your double locking underlugs right there. And you got your greener cross bolt. And your, extra added doll's head. I call it like a little extended rib nib of some kind, you know what I mean? This gun may have had some work done to it in years gone by, or from where you can see some where the metal was wearing on itself right there. We have to remember too, this gun was built way back when, in the 1890s or so, 1880s. Here we go, look at the barrels. They're not in bad shape at all. There's a pit right there in the chamber, but that's absolutely nothing to matter with the gun. That won't hurt anything with smokeless steel. So that if that was like that in the Damascus portion of the barrels, I'd be concerned. Especially here, or especially like right ahead where you see the fore-end stops. Damascus barrels start thick at the breech and they taper off and they get thinner at the muzzles. So black powder tends to want to burn stoutly here, and then it loses steam really fast. So by the time it gets about here, this is where the big steep amount of the pressure is pretty much gone. And from here on out, your barrel is almost a stabilization column for the shot. So your pressures are very low in this portion of the barrel, so they can make them thinner here. But this is still a heavy set of barrels. This gun is not light. This thing weighs 8.5, almost 9 pounds. So you want to make sure when you buy one of these that you're checking the bores inside, making sure that there's no severe rusting like you've seen. It's not severe, but there's a pit. The phone always makes it look 10 times worse. It's not even near that bad, but just to show you. So another thing you look for is in the laminations here, you want to make sure there's no deep pitting or scattered rust or holes or inclusions, because that can be weak points as well. But as you can see here, I mean, these barrels held up good. Just the fact that the finish is worn off them. And these can be restored, and eventually once I get the money to do it and the time, I will do it. For now, it's a shootable piece the way it is. It's got some engraving and some machining work done there to it. Nice wide matted rib. And all in all, a solid gun. I'm just going to take the barrels, put them aside for a second. Gonna get a better look at the fore-end piece here. There we go. Checkering is worn down quite a bit from ages of being used, but it could be restored and recut. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll just leave it alone. There's the serial number. Screw heads haven't been messed around with too much. And you got the push button release for the fore end. Here's your actuator for the extractor. And you always keep them greased up there. And overall, just European walnut. Back in this day, this was probably a gun that was worth a couple of dollars, you know, and probably the most expensive one, but now we're going to look here. Here's the action piece. As you can see, she's solid there. Checkering's a little more solid here, but you can see here where it's worn, and where it's not worn is predominantly where it's carried. Nice oil finish, the old European walnut, and I'll show you something else on this thing in a second. But the metal's in great shape. There's no pitting. There's no rust. No cracks. Just a good old serviceable gun, eh? We're going to go over and put it there. That's the other side. And you'll see the greener crossbow doesn't travel all the way through the other side. It's got bush firing pins. They are non-rebounding. They're floating. There's a little bit of play there in the hammers, but that's to be expected. It's still a great shooting gun. And 1 second here, I'll pick this up and look. There you go. Some borderline engraving. And generally overall, the old girl's not in bad shape whatsoever. See if I can stand this up without knocking everything down. But there's the nice flame looking grain. Beautiful wood on this gun. There you go. Look at that. Ain't that beautiful? Now that's when they put wood into stuff back then. And then we have a grip cap there. I believe that's made of horn, animal horn. It's got a steel butt pad. There's your trigger guard. Still nice and fit. Overall, nothing wrong with the old gun at all. So, if you bear with me a moment, I'm going to flip you back around. And we're going to flip you back up here, and I'm going to put this gun back together momentarily. Sorry for the screen blocking. Oh, there. So, let's stick her back together. There she is. Then we're going to snap the fore end. So now we got our gun back in one piece. So, you can still find these on the market, Belgian guns in general. Hammer 12 gauges, we have to bear in mind. You could get these with fluid barrels, and they were still 2.5 inch chambered, and some of them were proofed with smokeless loads, and you can still shoot them with appropriate smokeless loads. But this gun I just showed you the proof marks is not a smokeless proof gun. This is black powder only. Even though they tried to make a reinforced breech system here at the time period when smokeless powders were evolving, and they were trying things like this to make the guns safer or stronger, to like a sales pitch, you know. Our gun is stronger, our guns can shoot farther, and it was a sales pitch back then. So what do you have to do when you buy or look at one of these? You go to a gun show, you pick this up on the table, like I said, you examine your barrels inside and out, check your ribs, make sure they're not lifting or delaminating. You want to make sure when you open it and you close it that it's fairly tight. A lot of them you're going to have a little play. That can be addressed too with gunsmiths and some shim work or reworking the locking lumps to get them tighter, to bring them back into spec where they used to be when they were new. And you can bring them back to what they call on face to make sure that your barrels are tight and on face here. And you can see here that You know, there's no gaps, you can't see any light through it, and the barrels are on face. So this gun is still good to shoot for a good long time. It's been around since the late 1880s to mid 1890s, before the turn of the century, because after the 1900s, Damascus barrels kind of declined. They still made a few, and they went to the smokeless steels like ordnance steels and Krupp steel, and just like you know, steel barrels, and yeah, fluid steel. So we have just to bear in mind that when you're buying this, you are buying an antique. So you shoot it the way it was designed to be shot, and you can still have fun with this. You can shoot lead shot in it. It's not a steel shotgun, no steel shot whatsoever in any Damascus barrel, regardless of whatever choke it's got. So you want to bear in mind that if you shoot them appropriately, with the right ammo, the right type of shot, you can go out and have fun with them. Would I recommend something like this to a beginner person with wants a side-by-side? Probably not. This is more for a skilled or a seasoned person. I'm not saying I'm a professional by any chance or any means, but I've got experience. I've been shooting these things for over 25 years, and I haven't had one fail. I've shot them in respect to what they're designed to be shot, and they all worked fine. Mind you, I've come across some really bad ones that I was kind of on the border of wanting to tie down to a bench and fire it remotely to make sure that things weren't going to happen. But the guns I own in my collection are safe to shoot with my loads I use. I don't condone it's safe in anybody else's, but they are in mine. So if anybody has any questions about Damascus guns in general with safety in regards to loads, or need some help loading ammunition, I'd be more than happy to speak and chat one-on-one through email or a text message if you feel comfortable releasing that information or whatever. You can't do it on here because they delete everything, so if you want to make a contact reference in some way that they're not going to delete it on YouTube for privacy laws or whatever, by all means we can do that, and I certainly will help anybody that wants to put one of these back on the field and use it the way it's supposed to be. We should be seeing more of this. Our country is a rich-natured hunting society, or used to be, and it should still be. Try and carry it on as much as you can. And, you know, the ways of old. These should not just be put to the wayside because they're Belgian junkers and they're not worth anything. They were good then, and this one is still good now. The other ones I have are still good. You'll see videos I did of my other ones. This one in particular I didn't do really up close and personal on. It was during the hurricane, and I was contending with my cat that was nervous, and you know, it's just how it goes. So anyway, I thought I would share it with you. 12 gauge Belgian 2.5 inch chamber black powder gun, can still be fun to shoot. This one's got some nice wood on it. Where can you find these? You can find them on things like Canadian Gun Nuts, Gun Post. There's some outlets like Elwood Epps and stuff in Canada here. But if you just Google external hammer shotguns, you'll find a bunch of sites with them. If anybody's in question of quality, or do you want my opinion on one that they're looking at buying, by all means, message me. Let me know. Send me some pictures. I'll help you. I'll identify the gun if you don't know what you got, and I will guide you through it, and I'll tell you if it's a worthwhile venture for yourself, or if you're kind of biting off more than you can chew, in the sense that it's going to be a money pit and costly to repair to a safe state, something like this. I know there are people out there that think that these are dangerous anyway. I'm going to disagree with that. I'm going to say that any mechanical thing that's built by a human being is built to fail. That's why mechanics and gunsmiths have jobs. They fix things that break. So nobody's perfect. The guys that made these guns weren't perfect. The guys that made John Rigby and Sons guns weren't perfect. They break too. So don't put these old girls down. Be nice to them. Like I said, they took game down 100 years ago, and when I'm dead and gone, this thing will still be here if they take care of it. So that's a time-tested and true thing to say about the quality of workmanship for the years of old and days gone by. And there's an example. So Hope you enjoyed my video. Like and subscribe. If anybody wants any help, all you gotta do is ask. That's it. Rod will help you. Rod don't say no to nobody. Okay? You all enjoy your day, and we'll see you later.